Joining us now is former Trump White House acting chief of staff, Mick Mulvaney. Mick, it is great to have you on this momentous morning. I want to first start with your reaction to this search, because you did mention that there are two ways to see this unprecedented move. Tell us about those.
Sure. I could think either it's a legitimate investigation into classified documents or it's a political hit job. I think it's important that people understand why they're seeing the reaction they're seeing from the right. Keep in mind, if you're Republican in this country, what do you know about the FBI? You know that they misled the FISA court about the 2016 election in order to spy on Donald Trump's campaign. You know that they misled the public and the media about the Hunter Biden laptop in the 2020 campaign. You know that Chuck Grassley has had whistleblowers call him about misdoings within the FBI, that Jim Jordan has got whistleblower reports just last week about padding data on domestic terrorism. There's a lack of trust on the right now with the FBI, and I think the way they went about this, the fact that they went about this, and especially if the FBI did this only looking for documents, it's really going to create even deeper divisions in the country.
So which are you inclined to believe? The hit job? Is that what you're saying?
My point is this. I think if you're a conservative Republican who follows politics, the FBI and the DOJ especially have lost the benefit of the doubt. Because of the way they've behaved in the past, the burden is on them to actually show information as to why this is valid and why it's more than just about a confidential record search. I think you guys had a legal analyst on your program yesterday saying if this is just about documents, then it's a tremendous overreach. If it's valid and it's real, if it's tied to some criminal activity related to January 6th, that's fine. You folks know that I've been critical of the president's conduct on January 6th. But if it's just about documents, that's almost absurd. That's the same thing that the FBI was investigating Hillary Clinton for, and I don't remember them invading her home. So if you're Republican, the reason you're acting the way that you are the last 48 hours is that you really do feel like you're not getting fair treatment from your own government, and that's a very dangerous place to be.
But there are pictures of documents Donald Trump flushed down the toilet. Does he not get the benefit of the doubt as well?
Sure, and I think that's worth investigating. Keep in mind, what was that piece of paper? I think it had Elise Stefanik's name on it, if you look at it very closely.
Well, Mick, we can't, in fairness, Mick, it was torn up. We don't know what was on it.
No, go look at it. It says Stefanik.
No, that's one
word.
word. It said a lot of other. We don't know what the whole document said. You can see Stefanik's name is on there, but I don't think we can extrapolate from just one word.
No, I get all that. And listen, I am not defending destructing documents. That's no question about it. But keep in mind, the Presidential Records Act, by the way, I don't think this was related to the Presidential Records Act, at least not directly, because the Presidential Records Act, as far as I know, is not a criminal statute. It's in, I think, Code 44 of the USC, not 18, which is the criminal statute. So I'm not really sure how the Presidential Records Act ties in. Yes, the president has to keep almost everything, but not everything when you are the president. Again, if we're talking about documents, that's part of my point here, Brianna. You just invaded the home of a former president of the United States to look for documents. Why was it so important? Why couldn't it be handled by a subpoena? Why did you have to go in there when he wasn't even there? He was in New Jersey, I think, during the time. Those are the types of questions that people are asking. I don't think this is an ultra MAGA response. I think this is a lot of reasonable Republicans, folks who have been critical of the president in the past, folks who may be running against him in 2024. I think Tulsi Gabbard, a Democrat, is supporting the president on this. There's a lot of mainstream Republicans and center-left Democrats going, wait a second, this may be an overreach. This could be real troublesome.
Trump's lawyer, she said that this has to do with classified documents. We should be clear about this, that this isn't just a Presidential Records Act thing. I do want to ask you, because you've seen this journal report that says someone in Trump's orbit. So this is someone with knowledge inside who told the feds that there was additional material at Mar-a-Lago, directed them where it should be, clearly was concerned enough to tell them this, information they should have besides those 15 boxes of material they got in the winter. Does that change your mind? Is that now sufficient when you have someone actually aligned with him drawing the attention of the feds to these documents?
No, it's certainly worthwhile, and it's certainly worth noting. There's no question, and it would be valid on getting a search warrant, or at least part of getting a search warrant. The other thing the FBI had to establish, however, was that those documents were in imminent risk of being destroyed or removed from the location. unless they had evidence that Trump was directing people to destroy documents. And if he was doing that now, why wasn't he doing that 6 months ago? Look, yes, you are correct. You guys said on your lead-in that Trump has the ability to release the warrant. He could do that. He has the ability to release the receipt of the things that we've taken. He could do that. The FBI could also release the affidavit that they gave to the court in order to obtain the search warrant. And my point, and a lot of other Republicans' point, is that when the FBI has the track record it has in the recent past about dealing with Republicans, the burden is on them to show that they are absolutely on the up and up, and releasing that affidavit is something they can and should do.
How close do you think that person in Trump's orbit would have had to be to know these details about where these documents were?
That's a good question. Really close. I didn't even know there was a safe at Mar-a-Lago, and I was the chief of staff for 15 months. So this would be someone who was handling things on day-to-day, who knew where documents were. So that would be somebody very close inside the president. My guess is there's probably 6 or 8 people who had that kind of information. I don't know the people on the inside circle these days, so I can't give any names of folks who come to mind. But your instinct, I think, is a good one, is that if you know where the safe is and you know the documents are in 10 boxes in the basement, you are pretty close to the president.
So you're saying DOJ, the FBI, they need to be more transparent here. And that's the call coming from Republicans. They aren't, as you know, the process normally, as it plays out, at least in the middle of something like this, the standard operating procedure, even for reasons to protect the person who information is being taken from, is also to protect them. So that said, Donald Trump, he has, and we talked about this there, he has that receipt of what was taken in the seizure. He has the search warrant. Why shouldn't he release that?
Again, I think he probably should. I think I just made that point, is that I think the best way to proceed.
But how do you call for the DOJ to, I'm saying, how is it possible for him to call for the DOJ or for supporters of his to say, yeah, the DOJ needs to come out and say something, without acknowledging that point you're making, which is he should probably come out and put this information out?
Well, wouldn't it be great if everybody did? Yes, you're right. The security, the secrecy surrounding grand jury investigations, search warrants, that's real, it's valid, it's there for a reason, there's no question about it. That's the ordinary course of business. We are well beyond the ordinary course of business now when the FBI is raiding a former president's home, a future presidential candidate's home. We're no longer in sort of that ordinary world. And maybe the best thing for everybody to do right now, in order to calm things down and sort of reset the playing field, is for Trump to come forward with the search warrant that he received and the receipt of the documents that were taken, and the DOJ to come forward with the affidavit that they swore out to a judge. Keep in mind, they had a similar affidavit that they swore out to that FISA court in 2016 that turned out to be wrong. So it would be, I think, it would help folks like me, reasonable Republicans, folks who have been critical of the president sometimes, supportive of the president sometimes, who are sitting here this morning going, holy cow, this is wrong. You can't have the weaponization of the federal government against any individual, but especially a political figure of either party. We have to figure out a way to get to the bottom of this and calm things down quickly. Yes, Trump could do part of that, but so could the DOJ.
Mick, when you were at the White House, what was the discussion around preserving documents, the importance of that?
Oh, we knew it. We had an entire team of people. The staff secretary inside the White House is actually charged with doing that. So everybody knew that if the president ripped up a document, and we did. I used to rip up documents when I was a private sector all the time. If you're working on 4 versions of a document, you might rip one page in half and put it on the side of the table. And we knew the rules. And yes, we taped them back together. And yes, we made copies. And keep in mind, that's important. As long as copies are preserved, you can pretty much do whatever you want to with the other documents. This is for the Presidential Record Act, by the way, not for the confidential or the classified stuff. But we all knew the rules, and I never saw the intentional destruction of documents whatsoever. I saw documents that were handled in the ordinary course of business. They might be defaced. We fixed them. That's what every single West Wing does. I never saw the intentional destruction of documents for the purpose of keeping anything from the National Archives or the public in the future.
You never heard about him ripping and flushing documents?
I saw him rip documents. I mean, we did.
The flushing. You never heard about him flushing documents? Okay.
Not a single time.
What do you think, hearing that Trump, who has maligned the act of pleading the Fifth, which is certainly within his right, but he personally has maligned that act. He took the Fifth and said, same answer, over 400 times yesterday during a 3-hour deposition with the New York State AG's office. What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, that made me smile because I think I was there the time he said the mob takes the fifth and so forth. I think the president learned a valuable lesson. Look, it's easy for anybody, including the president of the United States, to watch people on TV, especially if you've already formed an opinion of them, and watch them take the fifth and go, that is an admission of guilt. And it's easy for anybody to say that. It's different when you're the one sitting across the table from a prosecutor and looking at potential criminal charges. So he's not the first person to think that. I think this morning he's probably admitting that he was wrong when he said that several years ago about the mob taking the fifth. I have no difficulty with anybody taking the fifth. I was a little worried when Michael Flynn, a general in our Army, took the fifth about a peaceful transition of power. But look, I get it. I used to practice law. I understand the Fifth Amendment privileges. I don't hold it against anybody, but the president's eating a little bit of crow on that this morning. There's no question.
Mick, it is always insightful to have you on. Mick Mulvaney, thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Brianna.
Couple things there. First of all, just the almost throwaway statement. I was chief of staff for 16 months, and I never knew that Donald Trump had a safe in his office. It's interesting. It's an interesting data point there. This safe, not common knowledge. So who knew he had a safe? Who may have told the FBI he had a safe there? That's an open question this morning. The other thing is, and you saw Mulvaney struggling with it there a little bit, which is, these Republicans who are calling on Merrick Garland to come forward with information, almost none of them, so few of them are then also saying, wait, Donald Trump should come forward with information also. Trump's got the easiest path to releasing the information. Now, Mulvaney said he should, but it was only after you're questioning about it.
Yeah, he said he should, but admittedly, there are a lot of Republicans who are not also saying that he should.
They seem to forget to ask that question.